Playbook for Performance, the official podcast of Shauna Corden, the Joan of Arc for corporate healing and performance. Join the quest to make work fun again by preparing leadership for engaging workplaces. And now, your host.
Hello and welcome everybody to another edition of the Playbook for Performance podcast. My name's Shauna Corden. I'm your host. We're on podcast 48. We are so close to the 50-meter mark here. So this month we are talking about finding joy and being a little less cranky. And it could be the heat. It's about 100 degrees Fahrenheit. I think that's 37 Celsius. So it's really warm here. And I have personally found I'm a little less patient with people when it comes to heat or just comfort. And this week specifically, we're going to be talking about do not be that guy at work. This applies to gals too. But it is this whole idea of sometimes people they don't behave, they get resentful, and it can be a lot of different things that are causing that. So we're going to talk about what it is. So all of us need clarity. We need to understand where we're going and what's our part. So leaders, you create that vision. You say, hey, here's where we're going. This is what we're going to accomplish. And each individual that works for you needs that dotted line from what they do in their performance plan all the way up to what the vision is. They also need some recognition. This is kudos. It's specific feedback on things that you catch them doing right. So great attention to detail, great rapport with the customer. All of these things make people feel like, gosh, all this effort and time I'm putting into the workplace is paying off. It makes sense. People want to be challenged. They want to grow. Even if they're in what I call keep the plane flying positions, they still want to grow. They want to learn new things. Dan Pink's book, Drive, documents this quite extensively. People want to master things. They want to grow. That's why people volunteer their time to update Wikipedia pages, even though their names are not at the bottom getting full credit. They want to have significance, they want to have autonomy, and they want to feel like the purpose for what they're there for makes good sense. So those all go with challenge and growth. And then finally, friendship and belonging. So it doesn't need to be a best friend, doesn't have to be their best man or, maid of honor at their wedding, but it is someone who they can kind of lean on and ask questions of and feel like, someone gets them in the workplace. Super, super important. So what happens when these needs are not met? So all of you can remember being teenagers or toddlers, or maybe you have teenagers or you have toddlers. We act out. So it can be something that, for example, you may have been quite patient, waiting in line for something, but then, as time gets longer and longer and somebody decides to take cuts, all of a sudden you are an unreasonable person. That happens. So we tend to act out directly, where we actually make a request of our leaders and we say, hey, I don't get this. I'm not buying into the strategy. I don't know why we're doing this. This doesn't make sense to me. I propose X, or I propose Y, etc. That's direct. That's a little bit more mature. We aren't always at our best. Sometimes we're indirect, and we might actually be a little passive aggressive and act out. The worst part is when people say things under their breath, like, yeah, right, not in a million years, during someone's speech, or they stop doing the work. And we're really seeing this in the workplace, where people just stop coming to work. The other day, we were at a restaurant and the manager was serving us and everyone else. And the host was not the usual type of host that is at this restaurant. And when I asked the manager how things are going, he said, well, it's kind of tough. And he shared that he had had 2 servers call in sick that day, and the hostess was a no-show. So the guy that was very sweet that seated us was actually the busboy. And so the busboy and the manager were trying to manage the whole restaurant. And they were doing a bang-up job. I was super happy and told them as such. But that part of this is the acting out, because some need is not being met. And it may not necessarily be in the workplace. It could be a need somewhere else, but we're acting out, and the consequences happen with the people at work as opposed to our relationship or whatever it might be. Okay. So the important thing here is to recognize for yourself what's going on and then turn those complaints into a request. Ask for what you want. Ask for what you need. This is strength. This is maturity. This approach really calls for respect. If someone makes a request of me, even if I think it's not necessarily particularly reasonable, I will consider it if they ask it in a mature way and they can justify why they think this request makes sense. So what we want to do right now to not be that guy at work is to figure out what's causing our symptoms. Think about the leaders you've had in the past, or a coach, or a pastor, or a parent. What did they do well? How did they do it? Can you let your leader know that that approach works for you? Hey, leaders are humans too, and they are not mind readers, and they need help. And so if you can even tell them something simple, I don't want the, ticker tape parade on my birthday. That's humiliating and embarrassing to me. They don't know that. They don't know that. So please tell them, give them a cheat sheet. Help your leader grow. Let them know what ingredients are important for you. I have talked about this book on the podcast many times, but the 5 Love Languages is a recipe book for leaders, for partners, to recognize and show either rewards or affection to these important people. And we got to tell them, if we don't want, praise and adulation and we just want the money, we need to tell them that, right? Or vice versa. So think about this. It doesn't take long. I use this with my clients all the time. If you can't name it, name what's really bugging you. Sometimes it's a lot easier to figure out what we don't want than what we do want, because it's so top of mind. So if you don't want to be out of shape, if you don't want to be huffing and puffing at the top of the stairs, if you don't want to have to suck in your stomach in order to button your pants, it might be, well, I want to be a little bit more fit. I want to have more cardio, and I want to drop some inches on my waist. So that process of elimination can be very helpful in identifying what you want. And sometimes people come home and they're cranky and they don't quite know why. And so if you can think about the highlights of your day, what went well, and maybe what didn't go so well, and why your attitude changed at that moment, that can be really helpful too. And we're going to be talking about that later on this month, so stay tuned. Also, what we want to make sure is that you don't forget to like or subscribe. We are here to help. So if you have comments, if you have a team that's cranky, if you find that polarization is really at an all-time peak, if you're an HR partner that's been getting all of these situations dumped on your desk because managers have had it up to here with employees that don't want to talk to each other, and they've dumped it on your desk, I'm here to help. So best way to reach us is to send a message at podcast@shawnacorden.com, or you can just email Shauna at shawnacorden.com. So until next week, please take good care.
you for listening to Playbook for Performance. To learn more about Shauna Corden, her consulting programs and tools, please visit her website at shaunacorden.com and follow us on social media at Shauna Corden.